Hey everyone, Mulligan here, and welcome back to another episode of Eternal Errors. For those new, this is a series where we take a look at some mistakes I make and I attempt to educate others on what the correct decision is in a given situation. Typically, each episode focuses on a specific deck. We'll finally be covering Skycrag Aggro this time around. Full disclaimer, the deck you're about to see is not a typical standard list that you may have seen other people play. There are a few choices that are pretty spicy that I've included. It's not a list I would personally recommend playing at this point, and I've never claimed this list to be the best one. So I will include this list in the comments section for those that still want to see it, but I would suggest going with a more standard list if you're looking to start playing this deck. I'll have a link to a more acceptable list in the video description. Also, the examples included will be a mix of clips from previous patches and clips from the current patch. Let's get started. First up is a game against Varric, who is on Icaria Blue. This game is from patch 1.27 for those curious. Anyway, I was able to get a good amount of pressure on my opponent between the early game and the Soulfire Drake in the mid game that managed to die without getting silenced, making my top decks better with flying or charge units. Both of us do end up in top deck mode later. I get Varric down to 9 health before my Oni running gets removed, and have Obliterate in hand, but no follow-up damage for lethal. I can either Obliterate now, and hope to top deck the damage, or hold it until I find the damage needed to win. Let's listen in and see what decision I go with. I'm gonna chill. I'm not gonna chill. You know, I would have won actually if I just used the Obliterate. Now I gave them an out to put Face Aegis on themselves. That's not a Face Aegis card. So, this isn't the best example of this, but I wanted to showcase this situation because when playing aggro, you'll often need to play to your outs. I took the quote-unquote safe route here by holding the Obliterate and waiting to actually top deck another burn spell to ensure lethal. But if I had just gone for the Obliterate, I would have won the game on the spot since I top decked another one. There are factors to think about though, and it is matchup dependent. In the case of Icaria Blue, only Throne Warden would prevent lethal by going for the Obliterate. And I did mention that not going for it meant that a Face Aegis from something like Cobalt Waystone or even Island's Favor wasn't out for them as well. Up next is a game I had very recently against 8.8, who is on Huru Control. After getting down to Pyro Knight, I am presented with a decision very early on in the game with Crest of Fury that might look harmless to some, but let's listen in and see what I do. I mean, we might need it, but nah, I'm gonna bottom it. I mean, we curve up to 5, but speak of the devil. So once again, not the best example of what I want to show here, but I think this will still get the point across. Contrary to popular belief, you do actually have to plan ahead as an aggro deck. It's not something that's exclusive to control or combo decks. Putting the Primal Sigil on the bottom looked completely harmless, and for Skycrag Aggro lists that have a lower curve, it would have been correct. But this list has 5 cost cards in it, which is higher than the current crop we've been seeing in the metagame lately. After putting it on the bottom, I never drew another power when I needed it, and I got into a situation where I had potential lethal with double Obliterates. And yes, I do run enough power in this list for those wondering. It's not like I didn't have threats already in hand either, so I personally think this was a blunder. This would have all came down to the order of when my opponent drew the cards they played over the course of this game though. Particularly when they drew Vanquish, since I might have been able to beat my opponent's Island's Choice by 1 turn. The decision didn't bite me until way later in the game, and you could say it's hard to plan that far ahead as aggro, but just simply thinking about my curve and what I potentially needed to play may have helped me win this one. Finally, we've got a game against the one and only notorious GHP, who is on the new Stone Scar Gunslinger aggro deck that's been making the rounds lately. This game is also fairly recent and happened immediately after the most recent patch went live. There's been plenty of action on both sides as we race to the finish, dealing with each other's threats along the way. I managed to get both of my Crimson Firemauls down, but on GHP's turn, he drops a buffed Champion of Chaos. Now I'm presented with a decision on who I need to leave back and who should attack so I can still try to win the game. Let's see what I do. Should have held this back, actually. I included this one because I actually just wanted to see what you all would have done in this situation. I think the ace base was questionable because I had Rock Slide in hand. I could have only attacked with the Drakes and left Outlaw back to stay alive, since as long as one Drake hit face next turn, Rock Slide was lethal. However, if GHP had removal for both of them, Rock Slide wouldn't even matter and I would be dead, losing my Outlaw since I would have blocked with it. Let me know what you would have done in the comment section below. Thanks so much for watching this episode of Eternal Errors. Feel free to leave a like if you liked the video. If you would have handled any situation shown today differently, or if you have any ideas for this series, let me know in the comment section below. For those new, if you liked what you saw, feel free to check out my previous episodes in this series by clicking the link on your screen, and consider subscribing to the channel if you don't want to miss future episodes. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to the player in that last example in this video, Notorious GHP, who also does Eternal content here on YouTube. Feel free to check out his stuff as well by clicking on the other link on the screen. Thanks again for taking time out of your day to watch this, and I'll see you all soon. Take care.